Hello everyone, NGen64 is here and welcome to a brand new video. Today on the channel we are going to be asking the age-old question of what if Bob-Omb Battlefield was a Spyro level? So I've held you in anticipation long enough, let's go and find out. So yeah, this is something that I was curious on, so I decided to take to Unreal Engine and take to Bun Baroness's awesome spaghetti Spyro framework, as well as using a bit of Blender magic as well. And I have created what you see before you today. This is Bob-Omb Battlefield reimagined in the Spyro style. Breathe it all in, man. Let's begin, shall we? Actually, before we begin, I'll just quickly show you the inventory. We've got 400 gems and 1 orb. And that orb requires us to climb to the summit, which we will be doing in a bit. So let's keep going. Yeah, so this is basically the general feel I think a Bob-Omb Battlefield level or Bob-Omb Battlefield would have if it was in the Spyro style. It's a bit of Zephyr, a bit of Robotica Farms, and a little bit of Sunny Villa and Desert Ruins with a dash of treetops. But I will explain what I mean by that in a bit. For now, we've got some gear grinders and some robots to kill. And actually, you know what? We could come over to this nice tunnel here. I'm going to nab some of these gems. Now, this tunnel here, I did the vertex lighting, and I did a bit of a stylistic kind of yellowy, orangey thing, because I thought it looked kind of nice. Now, this, I believe, is a Desert Ruins texture. I think it's inside the temple-y part where you fight those scorpions. I think that's where I got that from. But I thought that kind of looked quite nice in this space here. And you might notice as well, I put a bit of a shadowy kind of vertex lighting thing going on here. And there's some more naturalistic lighting all over this level, which I think gives it a bit of an enhanced look and feel. And that's why, you know, I do think that the Nintendo 64 did have a bit of, you know, it had deficiencies that the PlayStation 1 made up for, but I think some of this you couldn't even achieve on the PlayStation 1, so it's definitely my interpretation of it. I'm not being, you know, as faithful as possible, but it, you know, achieves the look and the feel that I desire. So we've got these Robotica Farm enemies in here. Gonna get him. You can actually get him with a charge jump, or if you felt like it, you could use one of these stone things down here, which are getting spawned out by that plant thing in the wall. Yeah, once again, huge shout out to Bun Baroness for putting all this together. This whole she's got a server, but she also put together the engine that allows us to make these levels and these fan games. So look out for a more Blowhard Revenge update, by the way. This Project Crystal Fissure and myself are working on. But for now, this is Bob-Omb Battlefield. So I added this little plinth in. I think this looks quite nice. We've got this little boss gear grinder guy. It's a little tricky because you got to jump up to his platform and get him. So, you know, could be a little challenging. That's why it gives you a 5 gem. There's some 2 gems over here. And we've got a moose. A moose is on the loose. And he's hanging out next to this sort of patch of leaves. These autumn leaves, which I think add a nice aesthetic. Actually, one other thing I'll point out too. This is where there's normally a cannon. You can see I kind of left an indentation in there where the cannon used to be. But then I've kind of covered it up with these sort of naturalistic looking rocks, which I think achieve quite a nice effect. Speaking of nice effects, I've got this sort of gate here with these sort of plinthy thingies, which Spyro actually is too wide to get through. Now these are from Sunny Villa, I believe. And, you know, it just goes to show what kind of eclectic vibe you can actually achieve by combining all these sort of textures. And I actually think it lends itself quite nicely to replacing what those Bob-Omb Battlefield textures originally looked like. So we can come up here and get these gems. Normally there's some red coins, not red gems, red coins. We'll get this robot here, but we'll take your attention up to the sky. You might notice there's those rings with 10 gems. Now we'll get to those shortly, but those replace what those red coins used to be located for the Mario Wing Cap challenge. I think with an 8 red coin mission. Get some more gems here, guys, and we'll get another stone. And this guy is actually too high to flame charge, so we'll get him with the stone. There we go. And he drops a 5 because he's a little tricky. We've got a robot here and another gear grinder. Get him. And I'll just draw your attention quickly to the ocean because Mario, for those of you who don't know, Mario 64, he lacks the ability to glide, so he can't really cover horizontal distances as well as Spyro. So there was no fear of him accessing out of bounds areas like Spyro can. So I had to add the drownable water there because, as you can see, this is a bit of an island, Bob-Omb Battlefield. So it adds an extra dimension to it, which I think is really cool. And it reminds me a bit of, Town Square in Spyro 1, because that's kind of an island, and that achieved the same effect by having those, by having like a water or a moat surrounding it. Now I'll quickly go over here to where the return home portal is. We'll round up some more gems, and I want to demonstrate an interesting point. So we'll glide down here, and we'll get ourselves a 5 gem, which, by the way, unless you're double jumping, you actually can't reach up there. So that's a nice little challenge I thought I would add. But let's have a look and see how quick it is for Spyro to get back to where we just were. Now this is just me running and charging and jumping, and you can see how quick it is for me to cover quite relatively large distances. Now, this level has been scaled to be relative to the same size as Spyro, as other levels are. So you can just see how quick it takes for Spyro to get back up here, whereas in Mario 64, that could take you, a couple minutes. So, interesting little bit of trivia there. That's a really nice view, and I actually think that's the Cloud Spires skybox. I think it lends itself quite nicely to this sort of aesthetic. Now, there's a thief up there, but before we go see him, I wanted to show off this room here, which I have created. So this is a custom room, which normally these caves teleport you, but I decided to do away with that because I didn't have the teleporting coding in here or the teleporting blueprint. So I added a bit of a treasure room, which has a really low ceiling, and the reason for that is because it is actually crazy how close this is to the roof or the top of the summit. It's surprisingly low, so the roof had to be quite low, but I think the tiling effect on the floor looks quite nice. Now, these are actually textures from Zephyr that I've painted in the sort of yellow hue that you can see in there. So you can imagine there's like a light source in there or something. Or maybe it's because there's a bunch of gems, and so it's like a nice kind of golden glow of the gems. Anyway, let's go up here where we will find ourselves not a egg thief, but he's a thief and he's stolen a sack of money. So let's get him. And he drops a bunch of coins or a bunch of gems, and that brings us up to 340, and we've got ourselves an orb. The one and only orb. I feel quite privileged. Now over here, I put a mystery vase. So we'll flame him, and he will reveal the next location, which is next to some strategically placed trees, which we will go to shortly. But I thought I'd talk about this little area up here. Yeah, I kind of got a bit carried away with adding some geometry, and I thought I'd add like a nice little sort of callback to Stone Hill, to Spyro 1. This sort of solitude, lonely little place up here. I could have put some more gems up here, but I got to 400. I was like, that's probably enough. But I think this is kind of nice chill place to hang out. And also it's vertical, which allows us to glide back up to the top of the summit here, which we need because we want to go back over here now and go through these rings. Now, I'm going to talk briefly, I guess, about sort of Spyro level design versus Mario 64 level design, because a lot of Spyro levels tend to have that sort of cyclical or circle kind of effect where, you get to the end of the level and then it's sort of more vertical than where the start of the level was. Oh, here's our mystery vase, by the way. And that, allows you to circle back from the start to the end to the start in a nice kind of clean, seamless sort of loop. Now, Mario 64 levels don't really have that. They're kind of more sprawling, and that's because they can, there's 8 stars, and they want to put stars in different parts of the level, so the levels need to be, quite sprawling and sort of flat. So there's a bit of a difference there. But I think Bob-Omb Battlefield works quite well as a Spyro level. I think levels like Jolly Roger's Bay or Shifting Sands Land might work quite well, especially Shifting Sands Land, because it's got that pyramid, which again allows for that verticality that I'm talking about. Okay, so I think, is this the final vase? I think it might very well be. And we get 30 gems, and that brings us to our total of 400. So, there you guys have it. This is my reimagining of Bob-Omb Battlefield in the Spyro style. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, this is kind of a way of teaching me a bit of Blender, a bit of Unreal. So, it's pretty much the first level I was able to build from, more or less scratch, to make it feel and look like a Spyro level. And it taught me a great deal of sort of level design and, how to go about it. So, I really hope you enjoyed. If there are any other levels you'd like to see sort of turned into a Spyro level, please let me know, because, again, this was an awesome teaching exercise, and I really want more experience doing stuff like this, and I'd love to share that with you all as well. So let me know in the comments section below if you enjoyed this video, if this is the kind of thing you want to see more of on my channel as well, please let me know. But I'm going to violate a cardinal rule here. I'm going to double jump up here. Oh, how naughty. And I will end with a lovely view of that mountain over there. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for checking the video out. And until next time, farewell for now, but not forever.